Joining us on the Hallowed Chambers today is Mr. Lawson Oviasoge, and he's the leader of the concerned legislative aides at the National Assembly. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me.
So it's been twice in 2 weeks that legislative aides have staged a protest in the National Assembly. Can you tell us what informed this protest?
Okay, there are a series of issues, welfare issues we are dealing with, but as it is, we are taking in one after the other. Primarily, our major concern right now is the issue of salary arrears that is being owed our colleagues, legislative aides attached to lawmakers in the National Assembly. Since 2019, this Night Assembly resumed on the 11th of June 2019, and about 50%, and that is a conservative estimate, of aides are owed salary arrears ranging from between 3 months to 6 months. And we have tried all means to bring this plight to the attention of lawmakers and other stakeholders within the institution. But it seems as if our local initiative is not yielding the desired fruit. So that's why we decided to stage we'll call it a mass rally to bring the attention of the world to the seeming impunity going on in the National Assembly. Now, you will recall that when we did the protest 2 weeks ago, we gave 2 weeks notice. That was because the Speaker, Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, gave us some assurances that we are going to work on it. But it does appear as the leadership is making efforts to resolve this issue. The CNA, who is the Chief Accounting Officer, the CNA is the clerk to the National Assembly, who is the Chief Accounting Officer of the National Assembly, has refused to toe the line of honor. Now, these issues have been on since 2019. It's just 2 months shy of 2 years. And we have taken steps. As a matter of fact, I have before me a motion that was raised on the floor on the 17th of March 2020 by Honorable Bamdele Salam from Ejigbo. The motion was read, and an ad hoc committee was set up, led by Honorable Wale Raji from Ekpe. And a year after, on the 17th of March this year, the House met and resolved that the CNA should liaise with the Commission Chairman to ensure that this money was paid. And March till now is about 2 months, or more than a month, and nothing has been done. And we felt it is disrespectful, it is unbecoming of a public servant to hold the whole National Assembly to ransom. And why our argument is very compelling is because we know that these monies were appropriated for and were released. So the budget is a law.
But aside this protest, are there other, efforts you've put in to ensure that, okay, your voice is being heard as the leader of this association?
What we are trying to do is to ensure that we do not bring into disrepute the integrity and the name of the National Assembly. So we've tried all means to ensure that we localize the issues. We have other intentions. For instance, we could go to human rights radios. Other aides have impressed it upon us to try and see if we can even go to the ECOWAS court and raise issues of discrimination, why some are paid and some are not paid. Others have thought about writing petitions to EFCC, ICPC, and other anti-graft agencies. But as people who are at the forefront of all of these things, we are trying to manage the reputation of the National Assembly. That is why we have tried to make it just within the institution, trying to take advantage of the internal dispute resolution mechanism. And we have done all of that. We have written, I have documents here, we have written to the Senate President, we have written to the Speaker. And like I just told you, there was a motion that was raised on the floor, adopted and agreed upon. The documents are all here to show. And like I said before, these monies were released to the National Assembly. Now the question is, why are they not paying? And if they said the money is not available, the question is what happened to the money that was allocated? Now remember that nobody, not even the president, has the right to move funds from one line item to another without vehement. If you are going to move money from maybe the legislative's account to another account, you have to pass through vehement. That was not done. So what is happening right now, if the money is not available to pay, it's called misappropriation. which is a direct breach of the Fiscal Responsibility Act. So a lot of infractions are going on.
But what are the feelers you're getting from those in charge of dispersing these funds? Is it a shortage, perhaps? They didn't get the complete funds to settle all, the legislative aids, or it's just a deliberate delay?
I'll prefer to go with your last thoughts. It's clear. We have information to the effect. As a matter of fact, the Secretary of Finance and Administration and the CNA had at various fora admitted that the funds were released and were available. And that what they needed was the authority. That was the word they used to pay. Because he said he wants to be covered in case external auditors come to check the books of National Assembly. And we got the authority through that motion that was adopted. It was after we got that the tune now changed, that the money was not available. So the feelers, and I say this with all sense of modesty and some sense of certainty, is that this money has been misapplied towards the wrong direction. We have written to the Ministry of Finance requesting for releases made to National Assembly from 2019 to date. We want these books to be opened so that we can know if the money is in the Ministry of Finance. We go there and meet them. We make our rapprochements to them. But we know, as a matter of fact, that this money, we are on first line charge. These are salaries, not allowances. You get the point. These are salaries.
So aside the backlog of salaries and allowances, are there other issues?
It will surprise you to know, and I can say this with all emphasis for free, that National Assembly legislative aides are the only public workers who are not enjoying any sort of allowances apart from their salaries. I've been here since 2011. This is my 9th year in the National Assembly. And when I came in 2011, there's what they call quarterly DTA. It is called duty tour allowance. And the logic behind those who initiated the fund was that aides follow their principals to their constituencies. And they incur, you know how it is, the impression they have that, oh, National Assembly, that is where all the money is. So when they go home, they incur expenses. They are under enormous financial, stress. So they give them 75,000 naira every three months, quarterly, for other cadre from the LA1 to the PA, and they give 100,000 naira to the SLAs, which is the senior legislative aid. That was the norm throughout the 7th Assembly. Then the 8th Assembly, the former CNA, Omolori, scrapped it. Suo moto on his own. He stopped. Trainings have practically stopped. As I speak to you right now, the 5 aides attached to each lawmaker, none has a working equipment, not even a laptop to work with, presented by the National Assembly. Now there's what they call minimum wage. It's a federal government directive. It's like a law. Other agencies, the executives are already enjoying it. Judiciary staffs are enjoying it. The National Assembly, we have not received one minimum wage. That is what has been approved since last year. Other agencies are talking about backlog. We have never received one. Now, there is the issue of what they call CONLES. CONLES is what is a consolidated salary structure of legislative aids. During the Saraki era, they met and resolved that they should pay us our CONLES. Now, the CNA, the predecessor, not this incumbent, paid staff 50% of that CONLES. And as we speak today, aids are on 22%. Those are the discriminations we are talking about, where you have workers working in the same institutions, and you are using different templates to pay them their allowances. As we speak right now, I'm in level 15, step 9 aides in the National Assembly. My contemporary, who is a staff, is probably an assistant director. And I can tell you that our salaries are different. So those are some of the backgrounds, those are some of the issues we wanted to even go to court for the court, maybe the National Industrial Court, or even the ECOWAS Court, to understand why such discrimination applies in a place where they're supposed to serve as the bedrock of democracy.
All right. So with all these points you've noted down and all your grievances, what's the body language of the management?
The management is obviously at a crossroads. They probably don't expect this level of pressure from us. It was the norm in the 8th Assembly, so they probably felt they could go on. But years of deprivation, years of suffering and oppression has radicalized aides, and they have come out to ask these questions. Now, for the management, this CNA has a peculiar method of management. He does not talk to us. He does not talk to us, does not communicate, he does not make disclosure. Sometimes when people are aggrieved, the way you address them, can help in assuaging the grievances, but doesn't even talk to us, you know. And
have you made yourself available for
oh, we
a
have.
sit
We
down
have,
talk?
we have an ESCO, former ESCO, and they've met with him severally. At some point, he will say we should give him time. At some point, they will say the money is not available. And the question that needs to be answered is, what happened? That is our area of interest, because this is symbolic. It's not just about the money being paid, it's about sending the message that you don't just behave as a public office holder. There are expectations. You don't behave in an irresponsible manner. There are certain standards you are supposed to live up to. That's why we have certain agencies that are supposed to ensure that you perform in such manners. So the CNA needs to tell us what happened to the money. We need to know there's a lot of issues that need to be resolved. But the most important thing is that people whose money has been given to you to be the custodian, because you are the chief accounting officer of National Assembly. The state president might be the chairman of National Assembly. He's the administrative head. So he's the political head. The administrative head of National Assembly is the clerk to the National Assembly. And when the money comes, it comes into his possession.
We understand that the House of Representatives has intervened in this matter. What level of involvement has this gotten to?
What bigger intent can they show than on the floor of plenary passing a direct instruction to the CNA to pay this money? It is here. It said that the National Assembly should pay this money. It is here, in black and white. That the National Assembly Service Commission should direct the management of National Assembly to pay all the legislative aid allowances for the first 28 days and arrears of unpaid salaries, with effect from the date of assumption of office, as confirmed by their principals. There's a direct recommendation 1. The recommendation 2 is that based on the fact that adequate budgetary provisions were made in 2019 and 2020 budgets, and funds were released on first-line charges for the payment of these arrears and salaries, the single senators and members, with their respect, should make sure that these monies are paid. They are here in black and white. These are legislative instruments from the House of Reps. So there's nothing.
This is since what time?
This was passed on the 17th of March, 2021.
Okay.
That's why a month ago. So it was clear. So there's nothing the Speaker will say that would supersede this. This is almost like a law. Motions are very persuasive.
All right. So now, if you should wrap it up in a nutshell, what are your grievances? How do you want them addressed? And, what do you really want to, what is the information you want out there? For starters,
the allowances, the salaries of aides that has been due since 2019, old aides should be paid as soon as possible. If that is not paid, we can assure them that this matter will not rest. In fact, there is a standing instruction to all aides that every Wednesday has been declared as Black Wednesday. We continue to protest on every Wednesdays to draw the world's attention to this. That is 1. Then 2, other issues of discrimination against aides, the disrespect, the disdain with which the management treats aides has to stop. Because they say charity begins at home. Lawmakers cannot go and oversee other agencies, so they cannot oversee the affairs in their own institution. So those are the messages we want to pass across. That one, these overdue, embarrassing issues of these areas has to be solved once and for all. Then from there, we move on to other issues of the minimum wage, the CONLES, trainings, and DTAs. But we are taking it one step at a time. So that's it. The issue, the message out there is that aides are resolved, that we are going to pursue this issue using all legitimate means to ensure that aides gains the respect and the dignity they deserve. Every laborer is worthy of his wages. These are the message we are passing across to them, that we are committed to. It doesn't even have to be me. Somebody else could be the next person here next time. It's about an ideal that is planted in our minds that, look, we cannot be working in a place where we are treated with utter disregard. We cannot be in a place where people trample on the constitutions. We cannot be in a place where public servants treat, in public institutions, treat it as if it's their personal fiefdom, as if it's their personal property to treat the way they like. Impunity is what we talk about. A lot of people think that corruption is a major problem, but it is impunity that actually fuels corruption. When you can do things and get away with it. It baffles me that the House of Reps, elected lawmakers with constituents, can pass a motion mandating a civil servant to act in a certain manner, and they will flout it. There has to be consequence for such irresponsible behaviors. So for starters, number one thing, the major issue is this issue of this salary arrears that has to be paid. Once that is done, other issues would follow, as stated.
And do we hope to see any meeting with management? Are there any planned meetings whatsoever?
Usually we've met. Usually it's about the intentions, the commitment, and the sincerity. The last time we met, they had a resolution. By the time the communique was coming out, what came out was different from what they agreed at the meeting. So it's about sincerity of purpose. The last protest we had 2 days ago, the CNA said they wanted to meet us. They said, no, you should come down and speak to us. We don't want to speak one-on-one. Let him come and talk to the people he's heading. He refused. That is the level of impunity and level of arrogance that is the hallmark of his administration.